Hello everybody, this is Mr. Lawback. I hope this video finds you well. In this video, I'm going to go over the U.S. Constitution. We're going to talk about some background information about the document and two groups that quickly emerged after the convention in Philadelphia, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. So let's start with some background information. The Constitution was signed in Philly in 1787, but was not ratified till 2 years later in 1789. It basically took 100 days to write and frame. It was that incredibly hot, humid setting down in the Independence Mall area. It was referred to as a bundle of compromises. The convention itself was secretive. They did not want the public to know what they were discussing. So remember, initially the Constitutional Convention was to tweak or ratify the Articles of Confederation. They decided to scrap it and come up with an entire new constitution in its place. The Constitution itself is only about 4,300 words, and then another 3,000 words for the amendments. So it's not a very long document, and they say the average reader could read through it in about a half an hour. The word democracy or federalism does not appear in the document anywhere. Thomas Jefferson did not sign or was not even present in Philadelphia. He was in Paris as a diplomat. James Madison is considered the father of the Constitution. Most of the delegates, signers, thought the Constitution was going to be temporary, that it might last only 10 years and they would have to get together again to revamp it. There are not many specific details about the governing included in the document. Much of what our government did was added by tradition or future laws and regulations. Over 100 other nations have modeled their constitution over ours. Enslaved people in the Constitution were referred to as others. The legislative branch was a big point of discussion at the convention. It is in the first article, and the framers thought it would be the most important of the three branches of government. We know that ultimately they sided with a bicameral or two-chamber legislature, a Senate and a House of Reps. The framers believed in representative democracy and feared the idea of the average citizen having too much power. So the framers believed that a republic was the best form of government. The framers, in their wisdom, carefully considered the amendment process, and they actually added 4 ways in which the Constitution could be amended, and we know that it later was amended a total of 27 times. They also added in the ratification process, so the states would be able to ratify. So as soon as the Constitution was written in 1787, discussion and debate about whether or not it was good began. Two groups emerged, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. So in this chart, we have a position of the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists on several things. So the Constitution, the Federalists were in favor of it. The Anti-Federalists were against it. The Articles of Confederation, the Federalists wanted to abandon it. The Anti-Federalists wanted to amend or fix the Articles of Confederation. Power of the states. The Federalists wanted to curb some of the power of the states by having a stronger central or national government. And the Anti-Federalists didn't like the idea of taking power away from the states. The Bill of Rights. The Federalists saw no need for a Bill of Rights. They felt that since every state had their own Bill of Rights, that it was not necessary to put it in the Constitution, and they weren't sure exactly which rights to include or which rights not to include. The Anti-Federalists, though, the Bill of Rights was a severe sticking point, and ultimately the Federalists agreed to add a Bill of Rights. Lack of Bill of Rights was a threat to liberty, was the sentiment of the Anti-Federalists. Size of the republic. The Federalists thought a large republic was better and could better protect individual liberties. Anti-Federalists thought a smaller or more dispersed republic was better. They thought that states having most of the power was a better model of power distribution. So who supported the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists? The majority of the Federalists were wealthy, but also common citizens supported the Federalists. We know that the Federalists released what was known as the Federalist Papers, which argued in favor of the ratification of the Constitution. Many of the Federalists were situated near the cities and near the coast. The Anti-Federalists, conversely, were mostly in the rural population made up of small farmers and debtors, and they feared a stronger central government that might violate their rights. So who actually were the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists? Among some of the significant Federalists, you had Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay, and George Washington. Among the Anti-Federalists, you had Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, John Hancock, George Mason, and of course Thomas Jefferson. So in conclusion, let's talk about some big takeaways. The Constitutional Convention in 1787 was originally planned to change the Articles of Confederation, and then the framers, led by James Madison, decided to scrap the Articles and write a new Constitution. Now, there was a lot of debate on exactly what the new form of government should take. There were many compromises. Not everyone got everything that they wanted. The Constitution is not very detailed. Again, it is only a couple thousand words long, and it set the framework for the government, but did not go into great depth. The Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. As soon as the Constitution was written, two essentially political parties developed, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. The Federalists were in favor of a stronger central government and wanted ratification of the Constitution. The Anti-Federalists feared a stronger central government, but finally agreed to its ratification when a Bill of Rights was promised.